Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This one is player rankings where myself and George from Ingenuity Fantasy. If you don't know about Ingenuity Fantasy, check out their website. It's in the description of this video. They have all sorts on there. They've got a transfer wizard to help you with which players to buy. They've got player rankings, which me and George will talk about ourselves. They've got all sorts of articles as well by various different people from the FPL space. And they've also got Optimatch stats, so check that out. But yeah, me and George will talk about our rankings of each category of positions. So cheap defenders, cheap mids, cheap forwards, premium defenders, premium mids. Let us know what you think we've got right, what you think we've got wrong. But yeah, let's get into it.
Hi guys, and welcome back to me and Brad's weekly ranking series. Quite a lot to talk about this week, quite a few big movers, so we will get started with cheap defenders. So I think it's also worth mentioning that while me and Brad are recording this, because of the sort of game week stuff, there are currently games going on right now, so we are getting information as and when we speak, so we will do our best to account for that. I think what we're going to start with on cheap defenders though, Gusto. So he's just been brought in for Chelsea. I mean, naturally, Reece James is pretty injured, but we both have him very high. I mean, for me at least, that's mainly based off talent. The guy's really talented. Chelsea have a brilliant attack and they have great fixtures. I think probably the same sort of criteria for you, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, the Chelsea fixtures are a joke. So, I mean, it's Southampton midweek, then Spurs, then Brentford at home, and Brentford away from home are terrible. So, then Everton, then Fulham, and it just keeps on being unbelievable. So, and another thing, when he does play, he plays so attacking on that right side. So, yeah. Completely agree. I mean, not ideal that he hasn't started. So, yeah, we're recording this at half time of the Sunday Chelsea Spurs United games. So, didn't start today. Caicedo obviously at right back, but I can't see that being a thing going forward. I like Gusto. I think he'll play most games.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I can't see Caicedo right back being something that they traditionally go, especially considering how well Caicedo's been playing in the middle. So wouldn't be too concerned about that. And another talking point we have about cheap defenders. So Brad finally gets to talk about a defender from his team he supports. So I've got Wan-Bissaka in. As a Newcastle fan, it was pretty painful watching what Wan-Bissaka did to us. But I think for me, it's more just about West Ham's fixtures. They've got Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, and Southampton coming up. There's quite tasty fixtures, and we've also seen Wan-Bissaka getting forward a fair amount. West Ham seems to be playing a lot of counter-attacking football, and he seems to be one of the main outlets for that. So that's why he's there for me.
Yeah, our fixtures are incredible. Granted, we're pretty bad this season in general, and I'm not sure there's many clean sheets, to be honest, going forward. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka has been all season. He's been playing very, very high, and he's actually, people think of him as this like really good solid defensive player, but going forward, he is actually very good. He doesn't look very comfortable when he's doing most things on the ball. He doesn't look comfortable, but his output, what he does, is actually very useful. So yeah, I like him.
Yeah, for sure. And he's like, as you say, he's not the most comfortable on the ball, but he will make those runs. And he is a very willing runner, very willing overlapper, and stuff like that. It just tends to have quite a lot of value for fantasy reasons. So yeah, that's why I've brought him in this week. So yeah, hopefully moving forward, Wan-Bissaka can provide potentially a decent differential option. And who knows, maybe West Ham, they got a clean sheet against Newcastle, albeit quite lucky. But within that run of the next 5 fixtures, who's to say that they can't nick another one there? Even against the run of play. And then premium defenders. So premium defenders at the minute, one of the big debates is Arsenal defenders. I wouldn't panic too much on Arsenal defenders if that was going to be your strategy. They do still have a great run of fixtures. That first half against West Ham was an absolute whirlwind. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that in football again. I think moving forward, especially with Odegaard, Arsenal do just look a lot better set up. So I wouldn't panic too much about Arsenal assets. I don't know where you land on that.
Yeah, for me, they're still them and Liverpool are the best defence in the league. They have got pretty good fixtures as well. The fixtures aren't like, unbelievable. It's not like Chelsea's run or something like that, but the fixtures are very good. And yeah, I've got 4 Arsenal defenders in my top 5 premiums. So I mean, yeah, says all you need to know really.
So yeah, same here. And then Cucurella. So you finally brought Cucurella into your list then.
Yes.
He has actually bagged quite a nice assist, almost verbatim in the style I mentioned last weekend, getting down the left and whipping a nice ball in. I think again, it's mainly based off Chelsea's fixtures. They just have great fixtures. They're playing great football, and he's shown that he will be a part of their attack as well. There is, that slight concern about minutes, just because, Chelsea's fixture congestion and they do like to rotate a little bit. But I think it's a case of when he plays, he is quite a threat going forward as well. So he definitely holds some value there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good option, to be fair. I mean, today, I watched the first half of the game. I suppose not today when you're listening, but today, as in the game against Villa. Caicedo was kind of inverting into midfield as we expect, but like we say, I'm not sure that's a long-term thing. I think Gusto probably is going to be the player there, which may give Cucurella a bit more kind of an outlet to get forward. But to be honest, even if he's slightly more defensive, he's still a pretty good asset given Chelsea's fixtures.
Yeah. And just quickly, just want to touch briefly on the Konate injury, because we both haven't brought Kwanzaa into either of our lists. Would you bring Kwanzaa in? Quick yes or no?
No. I think we'll see Joe Gomez there. Not solely Joe Gomez there, but I think we could see both Kwanzaa and Gomez there. So yeah, can't trust
my
that.
thoughts exactly. So yeah, I think that pretty much rounds it up for defenders. If you want to have a look at our lists here and let me and Brad know, who we're missing, what sort of list you would, and we will see you next week. Right, welcome back. We are now on to midfielders. So cheap midfielders, again, quite a lot of movement here. The first one to just quickly mention, Semenyo's now served his suspension and he's gone straight back to the top of our list as a result. Bournemouth have incredible fixtures. They're playing great football. So, I mean, Semenyo's the talisman. As Brad's mentioned before as well, he's taken the second most shots in the league after Haaland. So that sort of stuff just can't be ignored. One key talking point then is Kudus. Kudus has re-entered our rankings.
Yeah. Again,
where do you stand on Kudus?
Served his suspension now, and conveniently, it's timed perfectly with West Ham's good fixtures. So yeah, I mean, going forward, we've not been bad all season. I say we. I'm a West Ham fan. Going forward, we've not been bad this season. So I kind of like going for the likes of Bowen and Kudus. And yeah, the reason, fixtures, and now he's not suspended, puts him pretty high up our lists.
Yeah. And then Eze as well. So Eze is back in the fold for Crystal Palace as well. I think the only reason he's this high for me, we've seen what Eze can do in the past. We've also seen the value that talismanic players tend to have in fantasy. Crystal Palace aren't playing, I think, as bad as people think they are. They're sort of holding their own a bit. I would like to see a bit more attacking football out of them. But Eze, potentially on pens, very attacking, talismanic role, definitely has potential to be a serious FPL player. And then I think one thing that another topic that is really worth talking about here is Justin Kluivert.
Yeah. Fair play. Fair play.
What a man.
Yeah, you all kind of plaudits to you on that one. You had him in early, and although did we know he was on penalties? I feel like we didn't know that.
I'll be honest. I had no idea he's on penalties, and it's hard to say whether he'll remain on penalties moving forward. I think Semenyo will definitely be potentially on pen duties, given how greedy he is.
I don't know. I thought that Evan Nilsson would be on penalties, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he was on the pitch, so.
Yeah, I mean it's quite. I mean, it's almost going to... I think moving forward, actually, it's almost going to be hard to tell Kluivert he's not on penalties after being able to bury 3 in a row in the same game. So absolutely. I think moving forward, we definitely see a lot more of Kluivert on pens at the moment. It remains to be seen whether, they'll share some out with Semenyo and Evan Nilsson. But for now, I think we can probably actually assume that Kluivert is on pens.
I think so, yeah.
And,
I mean, taking penalties is a huge part of what I look for in an FPL player. So that's the reason he's gone straight up into 5th in my list. Yeah. Because he's an absolute bargain as well. He's so cheap. With Bournemouth's good fixtures, he's he's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. As you say, Semenyo is already a great cheap way into that attack. So Clive, the fact there's an even cheaper way into that great attack in those fixtures is, now is definitely the time to earn Bournemouth assets for sure. And then I think the final cheap midpoint I want to talk about, Madueke. I think it's just the minutes risk is why he's dropped down for me.
Yeah,
If he was nailed and part of that Chelsea attack and being direct, he would have remained high for me. But I think Chelsea are now starting to show their need for rotations, at least in the upcoming fixtures. I just think he's a bit too volatile.
yeah, we've seen
in
him
that sense to remain high for me.
seen him bench today, in fact. So yeah, it's definitely. I think when he plays, he's fantastic. Though he's like Semenyo. He just if he gets the ball close to goal, he's shooting. He's not passing the ball. So when he does play, he's great, which is why he's still in my list. But yeah, the minutes risk is there now.
Yeah, exactly the same as me. And then premium mids, not a huge amount of difference, not even a huge amount of difference from last week. I think I've got Saka over Palmer. I just think the way Arsenal are playing at the moment, their attack looks electric with Odegaard in it. And Odegaard tends to play more of a creative role. And Saka, just every time he gets on the ball, the kid's brilliant. There's not too much else around it. I think we're seeing a lot of Chelsea's goals, go through Jackson at the moment. But, we're also seeing Saka still hold his talismanic role for Arsenal. And Arsenal's attack looks electric. So that's why I've edged him slightly above Palmer.
It really does. And for me, there's really not much between Palmer and Saka at all. They're both fantastic. They're both very close. For me, it's just that Palmer's fixtures are slightly better than Saka's. They've both got good fixtures, of course, but the only reason he's above for me is just because the fixtures are slightly better. Yeah.
At minimum, if you have one and not the other, I would not trade one out for the other. They're both definite holds. So you either go for both or you hold the one you have. You don't swap them if you have either of them. And then Odegaard. Odegaard is, as I just mentioned, Arsenal look electric. Odegaard shot right back to the top of these rankings. And I think that's in no small part down to just how creative he is. Whenever he gets, I think even despite his injury this season, he has still created the most big chances in the league by about 5 or 6 on second place, which is a hell of a stat and just a testament to how often when he gets the ball, stuff just seems to happen for Arsenal. So I think Odegaard, you can feel pretty confident about bringing into your teams now, and potentially even swapping him for an Mbeumo or a Fernandes who are on the way down.
I think
if you were a bit worried about going double Arsenal defence.
Yeah, he's definitely a good way out of those players, given that we've seen Mbeumo and Fernandes fixtures aren't the best going forward. So I don't mind that. And to be honest, we've seen it in the past as well, where Saka just randomly decides to hand Odegaard a penalty as well. So I think there's a tiny pen share in there that is worth mentioning.
Yeah, 100%. So that concludes our midfielders this week. Let us know what you think of our list. Let us know if there's anyone you think we missed, and we will see you again next week. Right, welcome back. Now we are onto the forward segment. So I think it's probably important to start with, just reminding people not to panic on João Pedro and Cunha. Even though neither of them returned, the fixtures are still there. They're still talismanic players. They're still great. It will come. Don't be alarmed. Definitely don't rush to sell. And we're going to have our weekly debate about Wissa. So this week Wissa did return where those two didn't return. But more importantly, he returned again with a high XG. Now, granted, and I know Brad's about to say they've got another striker back and he bagged a hat trick in and XYZ, but Wissa's XG was still quite high. Wissa still registered a 0.83 XG, which it just shows so much of what Brentford are doing is going through him. But I think it's more important to talk about Wissa within the frame of Brentford as a whole team. Brentford are scoring so many goals at the moment. They play such attacking football that if you're the main outlet, you just are naturally going to find yourself in positions to score. Now he's somehow managed to return and slip down your list, so
Yeah.
let's get a bit of an explanation for that.
Okay. So the reason he slipped down my list is fixtures. Like him
Yeah.
and Brentford keep doing well at home. By the way, only at home it seems, and also they keep doing well in good fixtures, which is expected. Now they don't have good fixtures, so I mean, 3 of their next 5 are away, which for starters is poor for them. Those away games are Villa, Chelsea, Brighton, and in between that they've got Newcastle and Forest. That's just not good fixtures for me. And yeah, like I say, I mean that I don't know much about this striker, Igor Thiago, I think his name is, and obviously Kevin Chada is there as well. So again, the minutes are potentially slightly worse, and the fixtures are bad. That's the only reason. I mean, he does keep getting so many chances, big chances as well. So that can't be ignored. But yeah, that's my reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. The home and away form is definitely. I mean, if I don't know if anyone's seen the table, they're pretty much second in the league at home and second bottom away. It's quite stark actually. I just think moving forward, your play style isn't going to be affected too much in terms of who the chances are going to go through. So I think if anything, with these additional bodies back, it may actually help their depth, and it could even end up helping them on the road a bit to just cement some of their away form. So that's why I'm keeping Wissa high. I'd rather be late to the party of getting him out than early, especially while his XG so high. So that's why I've still got him high for me. And then Vardy, you've got Vardy quite high, I think, for a Leicester asset. If you want to take people through that.
Yeah, so Vardy's minutes have been better than I expected them to be. Obviously, he's on penalties, which we knew if he was going to play, he'd be on penalties. But his minutes have just been better than I thought. I didn't think he'd be starting every game. And also, their fixtures. So the next 5 are slightly mixed. And longer term, he's not great. But for the next 5, West Ham at home's next, Brighton at home. Then it's Newcastle away, which who knows where Newcastle will be at that point. Then it's Wolves at home. Yeah, then it's Wolves at home. And then the fixtures get bad. It's Liverpool, City. But for the next 4 at least, I think he's a very, very good option.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. And also, he does have that legacy as an FPL asset. Like, we don't need to worry about bringing Vardy in and being like, was it a one-off? Was it a flash in the pan? He's been there and he's done that. So, I think we can have a bit more faith in his floor than we can with, other assets from promoted teams. And then Welbeck is another point I wanted to talk about. He's just slipped down a bit. So last week, we spoke about the size of the pie, and Brad was right about Matoma again. But I just think Mitoma's goals seem to have come at the cost of Welbeck's piece of the pie. Of late, Welbeck's XG has slipped down to zero point 0.2. It was 0.03 against Bournemouth 2 games ago. So Mitoma's goals just seem to have coincided with a bit of a regression from Welbeck. So that's why he's fallen for me. He's still a great price and he still plays for a great attack. I just think he's the one who seems to be suffering a bit. I don't know where you land on that.
Yeah, I think he's fine. He's not moved in my list. I've still got him third, and I still think that's fine. Their next 5 fixtures are so good, so that's not a problem. And also, I don't think he'll be benched. I mean, a lot of it, he potentially could be, given that Evan Ferguson's there. João Pedro can play up top, especially with midweek fixtures around. But with Dunk not there, he's taken the captain armband, which maybe means nothing, but minutes-wise in my head, that means that he probably plays. So I like him for the next 5.
Yeah, and it's a great point about captain's armband. You tend not, if captain's out, you tend to hand it to someone who's going to be on the pitch at minimum. So I think it's definitely. I mean, that wasn't even the main reason for me. Was his minutes. The main reason was just his output. So I think if you are concerned about his minutes, I think you're probably going to be okay. And then onto premiums. I think this is where we've got quite a bit of difference. So Solanke, you seem to be all in on Solanke. He seems to be doing less and sliding up every week.
Yeah, like you say, he has gone up every week for me. He's gone up to second in my list now, and it's just so in the game at the weekend he wasn't in the squad, but that was due to illness, so I'm not worried about that. it's the fact that for most of these other guys, the minutes are going to be an issue. So we've seen with Jackson can come off early sometimes, and he's a yellow card away from a suspension. Havertz, we've seen that Gabriel Jesus will play up front at times. Isak, Wilson's back, and Isak is potentially injured, so who knows about that. Solanke will just play all of the minutes that you want, and the Spurs attack is just so good. Admittedly, like we said last week, sometimes he doesn't get involved in what seems like quite a lot of goals, but I just think that he is playing for an attack that is good enough that he will tick along, even when the fixtures aren't great. But the fixtures are okay. I mean, they do play Chelsea, they play Liverpool in the next 5, but there's also Southampton, Bournemouth. So, yeah, I just think it's minutes more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, and that's completely fair. I think for me, it's just, if we are talking about ranking those as assets, I just think the way Chelsea are playing and the way Jackson's playing, yellow cards be damned, that man's got to be high. He's just always in and around the action. I think, at minimum, Jackson is going to get the bulk of a game. If he's going to get rotated out, it's not going to be till later on anyway. So he'll have, most of the game within a great attacking, great fixtures to get the job done. So I think that's why he's high for me. And then Isak, I mean, against you guys, we saw. I mean, Isak was getting in the right spots. He easily could have had one or two. I think the chances are there for Isak, and he is a great finisher. I personally think he's just got a bit unlucky. So if you have Isak, it's not panic time. I think I'd still hold him, but one or two more results like this, then I think we can definitely start looking at reevaluating him. As you said, Solanke for me, I'm just a bit concerned about. Sometimes he just seems to vanish in these games with loads of goal flurries, despite being in and around the action. And Tottenham are, even though they've got all of this great attacking firepower, just seems so unpredictable. One week it's Maddison, one week it's Solanke, one week it's Brennan Johnson, one week it's Son. There's just not enough consistency there to trust any of these assets fully. But that's at least where I land anyway.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is that they're all pretty good. I mean, if you've got one of them, I don't think these guys are worth moving between each other at the moment, unless we know more about Isak's injury. But I don't think it's worth moving between them. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, if you want to let me and Brad know what you think of our list, again, let us know if there's anyone you think we missed, and then we will revisit you. Not next week, actually. We will revisit you. Wait, yes, the end of this week, actually. So to sort of revisit some of these other talking points ahead of the next game week. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's all for this week. Let us know what you think we've got right. Let us know what you think we've got wrong. Check out Ingenuity Fantasy. The website is in the description, and we will see you in the next one.